What's up, I think?
Yeah. 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 Not here to make you happy, not here to make you sad. Your feelings are irrelevant when debates are to be had. The Belfast Bapcast, loud and clear, covering the topics others fear, Working overtime to bring you many stories. Waking up today, the same labor and Tories. A stage, it isn't our part to play. Is bringing you knowledge in this way. No filter, no fuss, just tell unfiltered fact. Much like the words on those Christian tracks.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Belfast Bapcast. And tonight we are joined by a man who doesn't just belong to combat sports history, he is combat sports history. A true pioneer from a time before gloves, before the hype, before the sport even had rules, when it was just man versus man. A two-time UFC tournament champion, UFC Hall of Famer, an NCAA Division I All-American wrestler, a record of over 100 professional MMA victories, and let's be honest, a man whose moustache has seen more combat than most men have in their entire lives. They called him the Beast, but behind the name is an educator, a mentor, and a man who built the bridge between the amateur wrestling mats of Michigan and the brutal proving grounds of early MMA. So he fought when others were afraid to, and he paved the way for every fighter who's ever stepped into an octagon since. It's an absolute honour to welcome you onto the Belfast Bapcast, the living legend, Dan the Beast Severn. Welcome to the Belfast Bapcast.
Thank you, Mark, for that. Was a great introduction. I appreciate that. I always kind of find some of the stuff rather comical when I hear about it. It's like going, it just, I'll just say that I don't know. Did you ever watch the movie Forrest Gump?
Unfortunately, so yes.
Oh, you did watch the movie?
I did, yes.
Okay, well, I was going to say that my life is sort of like a Forrest Gump type of story. Just how some things just kind of happened in my life, and then I just had to make the best of it because it wasn't the way I was planning it at the time. And you're talking to a guy that literally lives out of a planner. I've got my current planner right now that I'm working on things, and I've already got the 2026 calendar right here, already putting dates into it for what's coming up in the new year.
So before the legend that was the Beast, before the octagon, what kind of kid were you growing up in Coldwater, Michigan, and how did wrestling first find its grips?
Well, I'll say that I did not grow up in Coldwater, Michigan. I kind of haphazardly made it here, and I made a home here. It's I am from the state of Michigan, from a small little community known as the Montrose, New Lothrop area. These are two little communities side by side, and my parents' home was right on the border of these two communities because it was a 3/4 of a mile long dirt road, and a bridge had washed out, I don't know, probably 50 some years ago now, that the people living on this road had a choice to go to either or school. And all the other neighbor kids on the road, they would go to this New Lothrop school. And for whatever reason, my parents wanted us to go to Montrose because, and I say ironically, is because both of them were students that had gone to New Lothrop school. So I never did get to ask my father that question: is why did you want us to go to Montrose versus your alma mater and mom's alma mater of Coldwater, Michigan? And now that they're gone, I can't ask that question. So it's going to be the great unknown. I'll have to ask them later on when I'm with them.
It was part of your path, clearly. Wrestling very early on took a sort of entered your life, and you took it to as far as the NCAA Division I All-American. So obviously that's a serious achievement. Explain that to like a European audience who doesn't understand.
Well, I mean, in the European culture, they're familiar with freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Those are your two international
styles. Wales, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're competed at the World Championships at the Olympic Games every 4 years. So I started off in high. Well, I should say I started off in junior high school, so 7th grade in amateur wrestling, and by my 9th grade year, I was actually teaching amateur wrestling. I actually had a phenomenal high school wrestling coach, but I mean, if you were to ever have met him or to even seen him, you would not have thought so, because the guy stood maybe 5'4", 5'5", and probably weighed 350 pounds. So he was built like, well, in the United States, the commercial was like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So I mean, he could not get out there on the mat to show us moves, but he recognized talent inside the room. So Mark, if you were the best guy with the double leg takedown, you taught the double leg takedown. Severn, you went to camp this past summer. What did you learn? Well, coach, I learned this thing called Kratos. Well, teach us Kratos. So when you are put out in front of your peers and you have to teach them something, you have to start thinking about, okay, what is it that you're exactly doing? How are you setting up the move? What are some of the mechanics that make the move work best for you? So literally by doing that, I became a much better, I understood the actual physical mechanics and how to make them better. And even go ahead.
An overland, well, the biggest sort of influence of your career for me has been your strength of character, which has obviously came from your upbringing and your environment. Sure. You must have had a very steady and stoic father, or a very steady figure in your life who has made you so calm and resolute in the face of a storm,
Well, Mark, on that note, though, yes, there was. I grew up on a 120-acre farm, a working farm with crops and animals. So in the morning, my father would yell up the stairs because, again, my brothers and I, we all lived it was a 2-story home, so our bedrooms were in the upstairs. And when he would yell upstairs, it would always be early in the morning. You had to get up and take care of your chores before you were taken care of. And it doesn't matter what the weather's like outside. As my father would always say, son, are you hungry? Well, so are the animals. You feed them twice a day, once in the morning and then once in the evening when you get back home. The hard part is when you get back home differs pending the season, pending the day of that season, because during days that you're at it, let's say a wrestling tournament, you might be going very early in the morning and then you don't get home until really late at night. You still have to feed and water those animals. And one of my duties was also milking Peggy the milk cow. So I had to milk Peggy the milk cow.
Farm.
No, a working farm of crops and animals. But
I used to work on a dairy farm.
Oh, yeah, no, ours was we just had,
and it had to be like every morning and every night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on ahead.
No, I just said that we only had one milking cow, but she was great because she produced practically 5 gallons of milk a day. I mean, she was a great milker. But also growing up on that farm, we're drinking real milk. It's got heavy cream. My mother actually making butter from this cream and things of nature. So when I tell people that when they would come over, like if I had a high school buddy and he came over and my mother would be putting up platters of food, platters of meat, potatoes, gravy, stuff like this, my friends would be like, wow, what's the occasion? I'm like, it's lunch, it's dinner. I mean, I have 7 other siblings. There's 5 males. If you want to throw my father into fix, there's 6 males. Okay, but you got 6 men that are 200 pounds or better, 6 foot of height or better. I mean, you could put away a lot of groceries with people like that.
So it's been very clear that, as I was speaking to you the other night, just looking at your body of work and your body in general, like it's clear you've never took performance enhancing drugs apart from raw milk. So, how have you survived in that world? I mean, like, me and my wife watched your last MMA fight. It was like 3 to 4 nights ago, and like, just amazed me. Like, the guy was built like, Hercules. Obviously, all the obviously just up to his tits, and you just sauntered in there at 53 or 54 years of age and dominated him. Like, what? 54, yeah. Like, that's unbelievable. Great. And you seen it in your face walking down. It was a foregone conclusion. Like, you know, I like, you knew that he was going to be beat. Like, it was clear. It was clear by the way he walked down that ring. There was not a care in your face, or either that or you're very good at poker. One of the two.
Well, the funny thing about the same gentleman that we're talking about right now, I'm just bad at remembering what their names are, because to me it's like the names are just kind of blur. So it's like I'm always, as I said, I'm always working on what's my next thing that I'm doing. It's kind of like going, it's like that's
Yes.
that's behind me. Somebody will have to do their own history on me at one point in time, because I'm like an archaeological dig. I keep adding a new layer, and a new layer, because even as a senior citizen at 67 years of age, I'm way more active than the average senior citizen for what I do. I mean, again, I'm dressed in work attire right now because I've been doing work outside. I keep coming in, knocking off a few more emails, knock off a couple phone calls, a couple text messages, then I go right back out. It's like I had my 15, 20 minutes of break. Now get back to work. And I tell people in general, because America is a lot different than a lot of other countries. America is really the land of opportunity. Yes, in some points. I'm just trying to move over a little bit because I see there's some sunlight banging in on me.
You're still
It's the land of opportunity, but a lot of the kids, their parents do not motivate their children the way that they really should motivate their children. They give them too much, and life that's not what life does. Life doesn't give you too much. You have to earn what you get in life. And that's what my kids kind of knew that growing up, because I did not shower them with things. They had to work. Here's a great story to go with this. My oldest son comes home from school one day and he says to me, he goes, "Dad," he goes, "when will I start receiving an allowance?" And I said, "Son, explain to me what an allowance is." And he goes, "Well," he says, "some of my friends are paid money because they make their bed and they bring their dirty clothes down so that mom can wash them." I go, "Well, son," I go, "first off, you live in my house. I allow you to live in my house. So part of your duties of living in my house is you make your bed in the morning. And you also bring your dirty clothes down, because mom is not going to come up in your room to find your dirty clothes to wash them for you. If you don't have any clothes, it's because of your laziness and not bringing your dirty clothes down in the first place." I go, "She'll do them for you for now, but then later on in life, like when you start getting into, let's say, high school and that, you will start to learn all these duties of doing your own laundry and that, because every parent's right should be to prepare your child to survive in the world." And that's where I say that a lot of American kids are kind of coddled because a lot of parents don't put any responsibility.
It's not just America, Dana. Like, I think it's the sort of life cycle of an empire. An empire is born out of struggle, and you've got really hard men at the start, and then they produce slightly softer kids who want to give a better life to the kids beneath them, not understanding that the comforts that they have were born out of struggle and born out of grit and born out of grind and actual work. And it's like different dynasties throughout the world have died because it got to a certain generation and they actually didn't know how to work anymore because it had been so disabled, so deballed, or whatever you want to call it, and it's clear that you've had a work ethic that is beyond, well, most people's normal, and that drove you to an NCAA, champion. And where was the start for you? Was it fighting or the professional wrestling? Which did you get your break in first?
Well, I'll say that all came in and around that 1992 time period. I mean, where I'm speaking to you from right now is a small community known as Coldwater, Michigan. And the only reason the only reason I lived down in Coldwater, Michigan in the first place was because of a job opportunity. I was promised a job. I was promised a salary. In the course of conversation, the guy, because I had worked for the guy before at a different manufacturing plant. I actually have a degree in industrial arts, a master's. I just shy of a couple classes shy of a master's degree, master's of education, field of specialization, manufacturing. So it's like in Michigan, a lot of people worked in the automotive industry and that. So I was actually preparing myself for multiple different facets of things down the road. Well, this guy first brings me into one company, basically probably about 45 minutes away. And I do all kinds of good things. Literally in the first 2 weeks, I saved the company from going out of business altogether because of some faux pas that other people in the same quality control department did not see, and they were looking at me to sign off on the ticket, and I would not sign off. So again, I had to stand my ground at that point in time, knowing that it could have been my ass. I could have been fired at that point, but I stood my ground. I saved the company, and So, but the guy, again, going back to the original story, the guy that hired me there went on to bigger and better things in Coldwater, Michigan. Now he's offered me more money. All the things that a young married man with some young children wanted to hear. I go, well, how long do I have to think about it? 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I sold a home. I bought a home. Remember, 2 weeks. And then I went to work. And at the end of the first week, I did not have a job. This all happens right around that 1992 period of time. I'm trying to make an Olympic team still. I'm haphazardly trying to do some training. I'm haphazardly trying to do my amateur wrestling training. And it just, but I have to keep a roof over my family's head, and I got to keep food on the table. I see a flyer. It said Toughman competition. Now, I don't know in Ireland if they have this Toughman competition, but Toughman it's a 2-night competition, and it's with boxing gloves on, but it's just brawling. It's like, I think it's 3 2-minute rounds. I think that's what it is. It's just, but it's mayhem. All it is mayhem.
Yeah.
And I heard about it, and I needed $1,000. So
you were getting that $1,000, weren't you, Dan?
I had no choice.
It was yours, like it was yours. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, no, but I suck at. But what you gotta understand, Mark, I suck at striking. I go, Don Fry, that other mustachio guy, Don Fry, who was one of my wrestlers when I was coaching at Arizona State. He's the guy that throws punches. Me, I will parry things and I will grapple you. I will clinch you. I'll take you down. But once I take you down, I'll throw a hammer fist. I'll throw a knee strike. I'll drop an elbow. I'll drop headbutts. I mean, I'm vicious in a different element of ground and pound. I mean, but that's.
Yeah, but the good thing is you can take a strike, so you're able to take that strike to get the takedown, and you're getting that 1,000.
Yeah. Again, that was my whole game plan. Is the moment I can clinch you or jam you up against the cage or take you down, I now have brought you to my world. And my whole aspect is I will never, ever let you see the light of day again, because I'm good about, as I always tell people, I'll take you to deep water and I'm going to drown you. Mark,
And you even done that in your last fight, though. Like that guy looked like he was going to die whenever the bell rung. Like you were walking about chatting to your trainers, and you know, at 54 years of age, and this guy was, I think, 30 something, and like he was going to die. Like his cardiovascular system was just right on the precipice of shutdown.
Well, let me go back and ask you a question. How was that possible, Mark, when I've only done 2 training camps in a 20-year career?
Because
I tell people I've only done 2 training camps.
In between Dan and Severn, there's another 2 words, and it's the Beast, and that's the reason why it's possible. You're an anomaly. Well, you know, most people to do what you would require at the very, very least testosterone replacement, but you've done it on sheer grit and sheer determination and sheer will, and you've survived in a world of predatory, like the world of promotion and the world of professional combat sports is a world full of predatory bastards, and you've remained like a morally standing and grounded, and that's fantastic to see, you know.
Yeah, no, I took you used the perfect word, because there's the promoters, there's the different types of agents that they're all in that predatory type sense, because they could see where they could make money off of you.
Yeah, and give you as little as humanly possible. And the thing is, I think you've always understood your worth, and had the ability to physically get it if required, I suppose, as well. Well, what was pride? What was pride like as a?
Well, I mean, pride. I'll just say that it was like taking the UFC, but then putting it on a mega dose of steroids. Yeah,
but I mean, again, from an organizational standpoint, like it was run by the Yakuza, I understand. Yeah. So was it? There was legitimate fights and fight fixing.
Well, no, all kinds of things took place. It was. I'm just glad that the Yakuza liked me. Yeah, you know, because I would be out. The promoter would have me out sometimes, and I would be being wined and dined by the Yakuza, and I'm thinking, I had to even find out. At the time, I'm like, what's the Yakuza? Then I'm like, then when someone basically educate me, I'm thinking, oh gosh, you know, do I have to really mind my P's and Q's here at dinner time? I go, I like to eat.
So. Trying to keep it linear, you had the Toughman contest, foregone conclusion. Yep. Sorry for taking away the struggle, but you won the $1,000. Once that happened, then you realized.
Let me finish the story about that one right there, because the promoter, I have one match on a Friday night, because the way they run, they do one match. There's only 2 weight classes, 190 and under, then anything over. I'm in the anything over category. So in my very first match, I've got this big old hoss, and he's wearing, you know, looks like boxing type of shorts. He's got on tennis shoes, and he's got like a tank top on, and most guys will kind of dress like that. I don't have any boxing trunks or anything like that. I wear an amateur wrestling singlet, is what I wear. my hair and my mustache is really dark brown, almost black looking. And I don't even know how to hold my hand. So I'm looking like John L. Sullivan himself as I'm walking out there. And people were laughing. But I had already started to do my professional wrestling training just 2 weeks prior to this. And I got to the arena earlier. So as I seen them putting together the ring, this boxing ring, which I thought was a boxing ring, it actually turns out to be a professional wrestling ring. Minus the spring, which means it's going to be a nice stiff landing onto it, but it still has the ring ropes, which I knew the dynamics of the ring rope. So when this big horse throws a couple haymakers at me, I'm like going, holy shit. I just basically closed the distance. I just hit him with both my gloves in the chest, and I got him backpedaling. And I'm aiming him right towards the middle of the ropes. And so I know that there's going to be the rubber band effect. Whenever it goes out, it's going to come right back in. So as I start to feel it come right back in, I wrap my arms around him and I threw him in a belly to belly. I mean, he hits right on his face. And I mean, it just basically kind of knocks the crap right out of him. He's discombobulated. The owner of the Toughman contest, guy by the name Art Dorr, big mop of gray hair, silver gray hair, and he's got a big beard, mustache, and he's in a tuxedo. I mean, and he jumps out of his seat. He's got the microphone. I'm thinking I'm about to be disqualified. He hears the crowd roaring. I look down at him. He looks at me and he goes, "Well, throw him again." I'm like, "Game on. I can do this." So it was comical because it was very comical.
A fantastic feeling, yeah.
Yeah. He even told me, like, he didn't say nothing to me on that Friday night, but then Saturday, when it was all over and I won, he came up to me, gave me my winnings, and he says, he goes, "Son," he goes, "you don't know what you did last night." He goes, "Last night I had a so-so crowd." He goes, "After what you did that last night," he goes, "you sold out my arena tonight." So it didn't give me anything more in the envelope, let's put it that way. So, but I mean, it was nice of them to say that, but because I was like some wild bohemian out there that I didn't know what I was doing. I'm mixing amateur wrestling. I'm mixing Greco-Roman freestyle. I'm clubbing people this way. I'm doing hip tosses. I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff that they had never seen before, but they just like, this guy's a wild man. This wild hillbilly.
What was your first paid gig? Was it UFC or was it professional wrestling?
No, professional wrestling. Yeah, we watched.
It
was okay. It was
UWA?
Toughman. It was Toughman was where I first got paid, but then I was doing professional wrestling, just training and stuff like that just before that, and then I jumped into doing professional wrestling. The UFC, you got to realize, I mean, I'm talking about this was back in 1992. I'm doing this.
1995.
UFC didn't even, UFC didn't even exist in 1992. December 1993. December 1993 was UFC's very first show ever. And I didn't even know about that because the internet was not that developed at that time. See, when you talk to people nowadays, they all have the little black box that I call them right now. It's like the ever-knowing, ever-being cell phone. Well, back then, cell phones sucked. And they didn't have them. You weren't portable. They weren't carrying things around. There was a car phone, but that car phone was actually attached to the car inside of your car. Yeah. The cell phone, the first cell phone, looked like a walkie-talkie. It had a big case, and they were expensive. So again, this is more like history lesson for a lot of people around the world because there's a lot of idiots because they don't look at history.
Yeah. And if more idiots than there is not. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't learn a little bit about history, it will repeat itself. And that's why I tell people, educate yourself because there's things that's happening inside the United States that it's wrong. And
there's things happening around the world that's wrong. I think around the world, not to deviate from the interview, but it's a clear war and a battle of good and evil. There's a spiritual war on within the world right now, and people need to get right with their God and do it quick because the outlook is grim. The outlook is grim, and people are putting their hope in plastic fantastic Donald Trump, who is bowing to Israel and doing everything on their behalf. And it's a very sad state of affairs that we're currently living in.
Yeah.
Even the left-right paradigm as a whole is a sad state of affairs that we think that is even a thing. It's there to divide us. It's there to keep us from rising up against those that are in power,
Yeah, well, that's where even doing a podcast with Don Fry, YouTube doesn't like us a lot of times because, especially during the whole Biden administration, because, between Don and myself, I probably have way more of a chance of having a political future. Don Fry has none whatsoever. you could have an intelligent conversation with me. Don will be like, "Damn the torpedoes coming at you full fledged." I mean, his match with Takayama says it all.
That was brutal shit. That's one of the most insane things I've ever watched. Like, it was almost like they had agreed beforehand. Like, we'll just go and see whose skull breaks first.
Yeah. Well, the funny part about that, I did not see that match until a couple weeks after the fact because I was busy. And then when I finally watched that match, Mark, I called Don up and I'm cussing him out over the phone. I'm blankety blank saying all this, that. I go, Don, that is not how you're supposed to fight. You don't go in there. It's not to be a test of wills where you get a collar tie and you start punching each other in the face simultaneously and find out who's more of a bonehead. I already knew Don Fry was a bonehead. I mean, he was one of my wrestlers, I used to.
Teen of the boneheads.
I used to go out with the athletes because being the assistant coach, I would go out with them because I'm a young single guy at the time. So I went out with them, and it's like, and if one of them got into a little bit of a tussle, this was still the era where they'd be like, Mark, let's step outside and we'll settle it like men. And then you would walk outside, thump each other a couple times, and then come back in, have a beer, and all is done. That's not the world we live in nowadays. If you thump me in a good one, I go, I might want to go get my gun or knife or something like that. It's like, oh, dude, that's not the way it was supposed to be. You thump me, move on.
People just are not morally grounded anymore. Even I think in a time gone by, even the worst of society had some sort of code. Even criminals had a code, and whereas now it's just devoid of any sort of morality, and people are just living to please themselves and be damned with everyone else.
Why? I refer to where I'm at here in Coldwater, Michigan. I own little like 3.5 acres is what this little area is. A training facility, an old farmhouse, and a barn. But I actually now I refer to it as my country, and that if you come onto my country, you have to obey my laws, my language, and if you can't obey any of these things, then get out of my country. This is my country here.
Rightly so, and rightly so. But staying on track, so you got your break in professional wrestling. NWA, wasn't it, first of all? NWA champion.
I'll say that's the first one that wanted to put any kind of a major push with the belt on me and that. So I was on the smaller independent circuit in the first place. Matter of fact, well, do you know who Al Snow, aka Al Sarvin, is with the head, the mechanic's head?
Yeah. Of course.
A friend of mine who was a amateur wrestling coach, and also he was the president of the Michigan Wrestling Club at the time. I'm the coach of the Michigan Wrestling Club. So basically, when the business was all done talking about the club, then I was picking his brain about professional wrestling. This is all before 1992. And so I talked to him, because he was trying to deter me away from professional wrestling. And he finally said, okay, I will take you to this place. This place was Lime, Ohio, and with Al Snow. And so I get along with, I've known Al for many, many years. Al is a very funny guy, a very intelligent guy as well.
And quite the tactician as well. He's been involved in quite a few actual training camps for fighters as well, hasn't he? Yeah. That seems to be the case in professional wrestling. Quite a lot of the actual shoot fighters don't get the renown they're actually due because they don't fit the mold or they don't have the charisma
Totally agree.
or whatever.
Totally agree.
So how did you survive in that sort of fake world? You just remained real?
Well, I mean, I'll say that it was a whole lot easier on the smaller independent scene because I don't think I think all the guys knew they're all trying to get to the big time, and so there wasn't any real money there. It was like you when you look at, by the time you drive to a place, you drive back home, you spend the 3 or 4 hours that you have to be there before the doors open. By the time people leaves, you lose an entire day for just about nothing. It might pay for your gas and your meal, and in the beginning, that was about it. But I still stayed the task, and but as more people started learning about me, I would get other gigs along there with it because, again, teaching amateur wrestling, that's still my first love. So as people found out about me, then I might go teach an amateur wrestling class here. Then I started teaching professional wrestling classes because a lot of professional wrestlers really don't know how to wrestle. They do high spots. They'll do high spot after high spot after high spot, but they don't or to do a chop, a punch, but they don't know how to wrestle. I would say that the marquee says professional wrestling. Show me some wrestling. So I am like a throwback from days gone by. And I was actually very privileged when I was first going over to Japan for the UWFI organization to meet both Luthez and, what was the other gentleman there? Say again?
Scotch, no?
Luthez and Billy Robinson. There you go. Luthez and Billy Robinson. So I met both those gentlemen at that time, and they had never met me before. But then they're seeing, I'm at the gym and I'm working out early in life, and they're seeing all the mechanical movements that I'm doing and stuff like that. And they're like, they're starting to ask me about my shooter background, and things of that nature. And where did I train at? What am I versed in, and things of that nature. And they liked my work ethic, and they liked the mechanics that I was putting into it, the matches.
Billy Robinson, is that the guy from Wales?
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. I was just want to make sure I was the right person.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just know he's from the United Kingdom. Where exactly, I could not tell you. I'm not. I think
it was Wales. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did he pass on a while back, or?
Yeah, not that long ago. So he would have pioneered the sort of chain wrestling style out of the United Kingdom. Yeah.
And both he and Luthez also. I mean, Luthez enjoyed, because as Ric Flair, most known, one of the best known professional wrestlers, he always claimed to be the man, but Luthez was the man. I mean, he had a stranglehold on that NWA title belt for so many years. No one else has ever come close to how many years he held the title and how well the shows did when Luthez was headlining it. But he was actually a very technical wrestler.
Who was the most, apart from the obvious, like Ken Shamrock, and like, who was the most capable fighter in the professional wrestling world? Did you come up against Meng or?
Well, I mean, honestly, it'd be someone that actually had because a lot of people ask me who else would be a tough opponent for you. What would be someone that had an amateur wrestling background? Because I only showed up with one background, an amateur wrestling background. All the punching, the headbutts, elbows, knees. I mean, that is stuff that I had to acquire. Even when I say I only ever did 2 true training camps. I mean, when I say it like that, 2 true training camps where I left my family behind. I said that I have to leave for the next 20 or 30 days because I cannot be a father of, a husband to. I have to become a no-holds-barred fighter. No-holds-barred. Most of your viewers and listeners aren't going to know what that means. they're used to watching today's UFC product of mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts today it's either 47 or 49 rules today, but back then there was only 2 rules to abide by, that being no biting, no eye gouging. End of the rules. No time periods. No time periods. And the only way that matches were stopped in the very beginning was by a doctor's stoppage. One of the very first rules that Big John McCarthy, one of the best known referees in the UFC's history, had to implement the rule of, I need to have referee stoppage because the doctor could be on the other side of the cage and the 2 guys are over there on this side of the cage. The doc can't see what's happening. And he goes, he is right there. He's on top of the action. So that was really one of the first rules that Big John McCarthy got implemented, is referee stoppage, which again, I fully accepted that. And it makes the most sense. I actually have a very
John
comical
was the pioneer of the.
What's that?
John was the pioneer of the rule set. John was very pivotal in
he was with that UFC right from the very beginning. They wanted somebody of physical stature who could control somewhat of some of the uncontrollables, because he was from the law enforcement world. So a lot of people don't understand his demeanor. He's from law enforcement, so he has a certain demeanor about him in the first place. He was always, the way that he would come and talk to you when you're in the corner is the exact same thing. He just goes through all these. If you're in trouble and stuff like that, he goes, I'm going to ask for you to give me a wink, give me a thumbs up that you're still in the game or something like that. He goes, otherwise I'll stop it. He goes, I don't want to stop the match, but I will stop it if I don't think that you'll respond in a rational type manner. But then he would always ask at the end, are there any questions? So the first time he goes through this, it kind of took me by surprise. But as he was finishing, are there any questions? A goofy little line came out of my mind, and I said, "Where?" And I simply said it out loud. I go, "Where did all that money go that my parents paid for piano lessons?" He said he heard it, but when he looked back at me, I had my game face on. So he's like, it couldn't have came from me. But this is during that 8-man tournament series. So when match number 2 came up, he comes back over and he's saying the exact same thing happening. So I know what's about to come. He comes into his little spiel. He goes, are there questions? And I simply said, yes. If you just give me the winning lotto ticket numbers, I wouldn't have to do this shit. And he hears me, and he's almost like dumbfounded. He's like going, this is the same crazy nut that made the last comment. And now he's questioning my sanity. And he even tells his wife, Elaine, she was like one of the people that does a lot of the paperwork and things of that nature behind the scenes. And he tells her that this guy's crazy, but then they get to know me more and more. And I go out to dinner and stuff like that. And they just realize I'm actually just very calm and relaxed. And then I'll say sometimes something comical, just again, to relax me and let them know that, hey, I'm in the game here still. In
the eye of the storm.
Yeah, one of the most comical situations like that was Ken Shamrock had a full mount on me for like 5 minutes. Again, this was during the era that they didn't stand you. You had to fight your way back out of it. And he's got like this mount on me, and I every time that Ken tries to push off and try to hammer strike me, I actually hold on his back. I'm holding on his lat. So he is picking me up when he's trying to push himself on off. So I'm trying to take a toll on him physically and cardiovascular. Even though he's on top, I'm still trying to take a toll on him so that he has to work harder to push up. It's like doing a push up, but I'm adding extra, 100 pounds or 200 pounds to his body to lift me on up. And I see Big John's feet off to my left right here. And I'm underneath Ken's body, and I simply poke my head on up, and I look up at him. I go, it's a hell of a way to make a buck. And I went back underneath, and he's dumbfounded. He's like, he goes, Severn, he goes, you're not right.
Well, that's a form of not right. And then you have who you're speaking about there, Ken. There's been very few as intense as Ken Shamrock. I mean, his on screen, it's just like visceral. Not so much now, but certainly during his competitive years, he was an extremely intense character,
Sure.
even when it didn't require intensity.
Yep. I mean, I can't agree with you more, but then I'll go back to certain aspects about, you know, Dan Severn is vitamin free, and some other people were on some very special vitamins.
Well, this is true, and some
I
are
don't.
renowned for making you angry.
Yeah, but I always tell people that I don't say that to be mean. I go, find someone else that could claim some of the claims that I claim. I'm proud of the fact that I was lifetime chemical free, because I mean, and I hate that. What I'm about to say, it's going to sound kind of bad, but I expect to outlive a lot of my opponents. And I don't say that to be mean. It's just that I've chosen a different lifestyle. And if everything that I keep doing my research and reading about stuff like that plays out the way it should play out, I should outlive, because I'm trying to eat cleaner. I try to drink cleaner. I try to do so many better things that are for me. And again, even when I do for workouts and stuff like that, I'm trying to do things that's going to add to my longevity.
There's benefits that you have, though. There has to be like genetic. There's something in the genetics there, because there's your schedule should have broke your body down a lot more than what it did. Like you were the most, like, you were active, not only fighting actively, you were doing professional wrestling at the same time. It wasn't like you were at any stage giving your body time to rest or rejuvenate through those.
If you were to look at my planners from back then, out of a standard, say 30-day month, I'm gone every single weekend, but a lot of this is driving. So I'm losing a day to a day and a half to drive to, and then another day to a day and a half there. So I might be on the road 3-4 months, I mean 3-4 days a week, every week. Then even when I'm working with the for Vince McMahon and the WWF, I mean, you gotta you have the day to travel on in. You got to get to the building, at such an early time frame. I mean, it was a very eye awakening for me that you've got this multi-million-dollar corporation, and I'm seeing how derelict a lot of the athletes are. Not all of them, but there's a bigger part of the athletes that they fall into this category of that they don't understand the opportunity that they have. They get to go out here and do this showbiz in front of these folks. They're making good money, but they're not saving anybody. They're not investing any money. They're drinking it. They're partying it. Who knows with other types of party favors on top of that. So like, I
think it's going to go on forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people do. I mean, I was, Vince McMahon did not know how old I was when I first came in. And even when I'm in the office, I'm talking with him. I'm talking with Jim Ross, and I think there's one or two other people. I did a lot of my communication with Jim Ross. And even when, Vince is like, oh, wow, exactly how old are you? And then he looks at Jim Ross, and he says, well, who's the oldest wrestler ever? He goes, Dan. So, but I did not look my age, nor did I act my age. So, but it's like going, I know that even now I could still go in a ring, but it's kind of like a lot of people, they look at me now with the gray hair, the gray mustache, eyebrows, stuff like that, but they don't realize that in every one of my UFC matches, every one of my MMA matches, every one of my professional wrestling matches, the color of that mustache, eyebrows, and hair was the color just from in number 45. I used hair dye. I prematurely was going gray. I sported a beard for 5 years, just like you. I had a beard for 5 years, but then it started, patches of gray started coming on in. My buddy started to bust my chops. They're like going, Dad, you got to stop eating those white powder donuts. And I'm like, what? I go, yeah, it's dropping all down on your chin. So, because my chin was turned all white and that. And I'm like, and then I shaved off the beard. And then, like, stash was going gray, hair was going gray. So then I finally broke down to color my hair.
What would you say was the more predatorial of the two worlds, professional wrestling or the ultimate fighting?
Professional wrestling, by far, was a harder industry to get involved with, not so much for just the matches and that, but for all of the extracurricular activities that surround it. I'll just use it. One example is that the very first time I worked for the Fed, I stayed at the hotel that they said all the rest of the athletes were staying at. So I thought, okay, I'll just stay at the same hotel. Well, when the show was over and you're coming into the lobby, there's all kinds of people in that lobby. All kinds of people that now they want to mob you for autographs, pictures, but then there's also females that are looking for more than just a signature. And as I go on, I don't want none of this. So I after that first experience, I would always find out where is the hotel that everyone else is staying at, and I go stay somewhere else because I have other things to do. In the same 24 hours that they work once, I will either fly in the day before or early that morning, and I will conduct a amateur wrestling clinic at a local high school. I may do something at a local car dealership. I may be doing an interview at a radio station. And then I go on to do the work I have to do for Vince McMahon and the WWE. And then so in the same 24 hours that is gone, instead of making one paycheck, I might be making 2, 3, or 4 paychecks. My time is gone. I mean, even as you've been talking to me, you already saw how I'm time efficient. I always tell people, You find someone else that squeezes more out of a 24-hour time frame than what Dan Severn does. I squeeze it. I squeeze it hard.
And your career has been testament to that. Your professional MMA career, I think, is the most impressive because obviously it's not predetermined, and it was at UFC 5 where the 3 fights in the one evening. I mean, that uneasy. You made it look very easy as well. It's not, at no point. Like, you've always kept a very sort of stoic face, and nothing, as you say, you were making jokes to
Big John,
etc. Like, how do you remain so calm in the midst of chaos?
That is something that I've always been able to do all throughout my amateur wrestling career, because there was times that during my amateur wrestling career, I'm about to walk out onto a mat with somebody that I don't even deserve to be on the mat with. And so I just had this way of always calming myself down, that, walking back and forth, deep breathing. I've already done all my warm-ups and things of that nature, warmed up, stretch out, stuff like that. Now it's to get my mind right. When I step out on that mat, knowing how to use that mat to my benefit. And how I looked at that, especially during my amateur wrestling career, is like, this mat is my piece of real estate, and you just now trespassed. I am going to drive you off of my property any way possible. And again, that's where a lot of wrestlers don't understand that. But if my back is to that circle, to the center of the circle at all points in time, and I keep working you to the outer perimeters, already in the referee's minds, they're thinking the other guy's stalling because he's playing edges. But that is something that I learned early on. There's physical warfare, but then there's also psychological warfare. but having a good strategic plan to bring them both together. There's some people, they're just a war horse in one category or the other, but you got to be able to think out there. So I always tell people that I'm a thinking man at all times. I'm trying to do.
I don't think enough emphasis is put on. Like, obviously everybody knows you're a living legend, that goes without saying, but there's not enough emphasis put on Dan, the character, and the family man, and the citizen, the like, you have remained the same person throughout. You have not allowed these words to taint you. You've not, that there's a lesson to be learned there for a lot of people. You've walked through these, what are cesspools in a lot of cases, and remained the same guys, it's just with your eye on the prize, and a family man.
I'll make one little correction though, that what suffered most during all this stuff that I was doing was my family suffered, because I'm gone a lot. When you look at a standard week for Dan Severn was Monday through Thursday, I'm running classes out in my training facility. Where I'm sitting at right now, I have a 10,000 square foot training facility here on my property. I was conducting the amateur wrestling classes first, then I added professional wrestling classes because of seeing how disorganized they were, and I'm great at organizing things. And then I added mixed martial arts and submission grappling to where, I had a full-fledged training facility going that I put together. So Monday through Thursday, because most of my classes appeal to single young men. Now, I first used to go Monday through Friday, but am I going to have any young men at my place on a Friday night? No. They're out looking for Mrs. Good Time is who they're looking for. And then I used to run a class even on a Saturday morning. You think any young men are going to show up on a Saturday morning? No, because they got lucky and they did find Mrs. Good Bar, the night before. So I worked out to where, as I learned, Monday through Thursday, run kid classes first, because kids got out of school at a certain time. It's easy for mom and dad to take them right from school, bring them right to my place. Boom, I knock off the kids class for an hour. And then I've got my men that are coming in, and they'll be going for anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what the class is. Then I shut down. But by the time I shut down and I go into my house, my children are asleep. They might have been in my kids' class, but I'm not showing them any favoritism because I don't want other parents to see that I'm showing favoritism, even though that's my child. I'm trying to treat them all the same. So when class is done, I go back in the house and they're asleep. So I go. They don't know that I walked into the room, maybe tucked them in, maybe kissed them on the forehead, stuff like that. But then I was always good about Monday through Thursday doing what I call the daddy deal. I would wake them up in the morning and I would be down there and I would be cooking them breakfast. So that was my interaction time, was cooking them breakfast and then taking them to school. That was all the time I got. But then, like I said, the internet, it didn't exist. They didn't know stuff like that. And I did not tell them I was a professional. I did not tell them I was a cage fighter. One of my oldest son at the time, he's at school. And I'm trying to take him. I don't even know what grade he's in. Probably, I don't know, say 5th, 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. He's in school, and one of his friends brings in a Japanese professional wrestling magazine, and they've got on this desk, and these group of boys, 4 or 5 boys, are all standing around. And they're like, "Wow, look at this picture like that." And then all of a sudden, they flip the page, and my son goes, "That's my dad." And they're looking at him like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. That's your dad." And I'm like, "No, that's my dad." So literally, like a week or so later, there was show and tell. Guess what my son brought to school as show and tell? Me. Yeah. But again, I did not tell him because I just wanted to be dad. That's all I wanted to be.
But that little time that you had to dedicate to them is a lot more than people with a lot more time would dedicate to their kids. We've talked about this device, the laptop we're working on. We're using, again, what I hope for is that we use this for, because I do like doing interviews,
but I want them to see a different side of Dan Severn. Sure, I've accomplished a lot of things in amateur wrestling, freestyle wrestling, collegiate wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, but then going to submission grappling, gi work, non-gi work. I defied age barriers young in my life, and I'm defying age barriers late in my life. I'm lifetime chemical free. I do this, and I brag about those aspects, knowing that I could be derailed at any point in time. But I just want people to know that you can do things the right way. Yeah, have I done everything perfect by the book? No, I have not. I mean, I've had my own little glitches here and there, but it's kind of like going. I mean, like alcohol. Do you drink beer, Mark? Do you like the taste of beer?
Tonic wine would be my choice.
We'll get most young men. They always talk about like this, on a Friday night after the football game is done. All my football family are like, come on, Dan, let's go out and get shit faced. And I'm like, I can't go out and get shit faced because I'm wrestling tomorrow. I told that a little bit earlier that I have commitments. So I have to make weight tomorrow because I'm going to this wrestling tournament. I have a goal to try to get the scholarship.
You made the right choices where you had the option to.
Yeah, well, those same people even contact me nowadays, and they say, Dan, you really stood by your goals and look where you're at. Again,
I would say it's had a profound effect on some of your peers because, a lot of the guys when they were younger and felt invincible and were taking, the hand out of you or making fun, probably now in later years, looking back when, he was making the right choices and, it's probably, well, if they're still even here, especially in the professional wrestling world.
I always tell people that I was trying to go through life undetected because I wasn't trying to draw attention myself. Again, as I say, talk about the high school, I did what I did to be able to pay for a college education without accumulating all these student loan debts that will hang over me for the next 30, 40 years of my life. And then with each phase, it's like coming down to Coldwater, Michigan. I came down here for a job opportunity for my family, and things were out of my control. But then I had to jump in that Toughman contest. I had to jump into professionals. I had to jump into cage right there to where, I mean, Mark, when you think about it, I did not have health benefits for 20 years. 20 years, no health benefits. Climbing into cages, climbing into professional wrestling, knowing that I could get hurt. And I even told myself, because I would pull out a picture of my family and go, I have to become invincible. I can't get hurt. Otherwise, I have no much health insurance.
Well, that's a good motivator. It's going to keep you certainly.
It's a hell of a motivator.
What would you say is your most proudest achievement across both worlds?
I don't know. I'd say as I stated earlier, I lost a lot of time with my children. And again, they're not children; they're adults now, and they're starting their own families. So now they see me how I interact with my grandchildren. And when they bring the grandchildren over to my training facility area here, this property, when they know that Grandpa's here, they want to come on out because Grandpa's going to play with them. And I'll take them out there, and then but then my son and my daughter will watch me. They're like, they see me, I'm out there, bear crawl, army crawl. You're staying on your head, doing forward rolls and backward rolls and stuff like this. And I'm doing this with them. And they're like, Dad, what are you up to? I'm like going, well, your dad is making memories for your grandchildren that they will remember long after I'm gone. I go, and you're viewing it, so you're seeing me interact and making memories that you are going to remember, and you probably will regale your children with down the road there as well. I go, but yes, your diabolical dad here is making the alpha males and females of the future. Because I'm teaching them gross motor skills, I'm teaching them hand-eye coordination, while all their other peers will be working the little magical things. Your kids will actually know how to do things. And so when I go, what may happen through the in result of all this is I may save you, as I point to my son and my daughter, I may save you about $250,000 down the road on a full scholarship to go to a college, or even, right now you can even monetize in high school. That's how bad it's gotten right now. There's some rules that the NCAA has come up with that the NCAA is not thinking correctly right now. But that's them. It's not on me. I simply know how to play the games of life.
Do you mind if we pause for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
We're not live anyway. Just need to run to the toilet here because I've been sitting for an hour and a half before this on another one. So just bear with me 1 second.
What?
That's us resumed. So you were saying about training the next generation and how they're going to be having practical skills while everybody else is using their little black box.
Yeah. Well, again, they'll have control over their entire body, where most of their peers are only going to have overdeveloped thumbs. That's all they're going to have. So unless we have a thumb war, again, that's what that's one of the games that they play as kids is thumb wars, like arm wrestling or leg wrestling, thumb wars. But I'm trying to help that so that they can live an extraordinary life as well. I mean, they're already living an extraordinary life because when they come over here, I see how other grandparents engage with their kids. They're not doing what I'm doing. I know they're not.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously going to be like for them as kids, you're going to be like a hero type figure for them because, you are an anomaly and you're a hero for a lot of people that aren't your grandkids, really. Let's be honest. I mean, you're a pioneer of both, actual combat and professional wrestling as well. I mean, you were breaching over in around the time of the Attitude Era as well, so it was a very prolific era in the professional wrestling business. So you were there for both at the highest, sort of peak of both businesses, and done it very easily. Crossed over.
But look how things have progressed. Just what was it? Just a year or so back, the biggest sports merger history has occurred. You now have the WWE, you have professional wrestling and mixed martial arts now together underneath the umbrella of TKO. You have that UFC and WWE together. So it's like going the biggest sports merger. So that's why I tell people that
that's insane. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. My stock has gone up because of that, because who's that first guy that did both?
I was going to say, none of that's possible without you, without the likes of yourself, without the likes of Don Fry, without the likes of the Ken Shamrocks on the American scene. There is no TKO, there is no merger, there is no... And, current generations are very quick to forget their roots and forget the reason why they're able to be in an octagon and earn... you hear all this, shit today about fighter pay, and maybe they're not getting what they're owed, but they're getting a hell of a lot more now because of guys like you and guys that went before them. And, yes, you should always fight for your worth, but, understand the position you're in as well.
Right. No, it has changed a great deal. I mean, I'm just glad that there's... The UFC is such a well-oiled machine today, and there has been a lot of work on doing that. I mean, what Dana White has done with that company, and again with the Fertitta brothers, Station Casinos behind them. I mean, they bring in a lot of business into Las Vegas. I give credit all the way around. Some of the people. Like a Bob Meyerowitz. He owned the UFC probably during the roughest time in the sports history, because that's when you had Senator John McCain and others that were coming down upon the sport, trying to ban it all together. Human cockfighting, and that is what they referring to it.
But it was how
and
they were
again, when you
marketing
look
it at that time.
what's
How
that?
John, the original owners of the UFC, and how they went about the marketing of the brand was
Well,
not very clever either. You know, it was one man enter, two men enter, one man leaves. You know,
yeah.
making it sound like there's a potential death, etc. You know, they weren't doing themselves many favors in hopes of getting
Well, they
sanctioned
didn't do it. I
around
mean,
those times.
it was always it was always comical because like we're in the Coliseum and you have to let the Caesar. Does Caesar say thumbs up or does he say thumbs down? I go, we have to guess on this one. Is he going to live or is he going to die here right now? So I mean, it's a little bit comical because I made light of it. I made light of it all the time, you know, knowing that you know, I can't get hurt. I can't allow myself to get hurt.
Because you have no health insurance.
Yeah. Like I said, last thing I would look at would be that little picture of my family. And I had to make myself invincible.
I think a lot of people as well, I just sort of naturally expect fighters to be knuckle dragging, thick, you know, just non-intelligent guys. And yeah, and I had a brief conversation with you the other night, and it was clear to see, speaking to you, you're an intelligent guy, very switched on. You wouldn't be where you are today without intelligence and without a foresight or the ability to plan and execute. So what advice would you give to young men, especially because it's a world where masculinity is frowned upon, and I think we really need to encourage young men to re-embrace their masculinity and, you know, dare to just be men. You know?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. I mean, if someone was going to try to look into, say, mixed martial arts, again, because it does differ between professionals and the two, but there are similarities. You still have to have a real job. You have to have a real job to begin with. And again, I always tell people that you may not like the job. I've had all kinds of jobs that did I like it? No. Did I really let anyone know I liked it? No. I did it for the money while I continued to work for a better job. So I had income coming in, and then when I did find a better job, I would give the first company at least a good note. I give them proper notice that, hey, I found another job. I will be leaving soon. And standard, I'd say standard and is like a 2-week notice or something like that. So I've always left companies on a good note, knowing that I don't want to burn a bridge because you just don't know when you may have to cross that bridge again. So there's a proper way of doing things, and sometimes people don't think before they speak. And
impetuousness, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to reel those words back in once they have been said, especially now when well, gee, what'd you say there, Mark? I got the reel right here. Yeah. No, it's like, well,
I'm the most guilty party in the world of exactly what you've just described there, Dan. I am the virtual warrior. I say whatever I think at the time, and then cause an uproar, and then have to deal with the consequences of that. It is what it is.
Yeah, but you were telling me before, like the name, the Belfast Bapcast. That is after the name is after a bread.
Yeah, no. So I own a breakfast shop, and we traditionally put our breakfast inside a Belfast Bap, which is like a bread roll almost. So it's called Belfast Breakfast Baps.
Okay.
And I ended up starting the podcast because I ended up in the news a few times for my opinion, etc. And causing a bit of an uproar, so we got a bit of a viral following, and I just thought I would jump on the back of it and speak to people I've always wanted to speak to. So
yeah, no, again, that's how you end up reaching out to me, and I again try to be as accommodating as a kid. I mean, it's a lot later where you're at right now, a much earlier day for me. Well, it's actually the afternoon, so I mean. just a lot of time just simply working out the logistics of where you're at in the world and where I'm at in the world. Now with the internet, this is great that you can do stuff like this. There'll be this is I do have a very unique training facility here, and at some point down the road, we might want to do yet another interview, because I would take you through a walking tour of what this place, because what I have, or what I had at the time that the UFC first emerged, I was like 20 years ahead of them. When you look at all the things I have underneath one roof and what I was doing from one person's perspective, to where I'm teaching all these different kinds of classes, but I did not want to have a bunch of meathead athletes. I was really big about, I want to educate you guys. So I would bring in a nutritionist. They would hear it from me, but they're going, let me bring in a nutritionist, one of the people that I like. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I speak to a lot of different people about nutrition. Now I can simply just use AI, and I can ask AI all kinds of nutritional things that will give out me they will give me the best information. But I used to bring in people that would talk to you about nutrition. But then I also would bring in a financial planner, so that as you are making money, how to sock this money away, because right now you're a young person. Down the road, you're not going to be a young person. And, do you want to know that you can retire and you can have a nice accommodations, or will you be working the rest of your life and you'll be eating by candlelight and eating a can of dog food or cat food because you can't afford real food at that point in time?
Well, it's a very sad reality for a lot of people. Like most people now, I would say, actually don't think ahead. Most people just live and act in the moment, and really don't.
Totally agree.
And don't think of future consequences. And like my past life, like I was a complete drug addict and lived within the moment, and only whenever I began being present in the moment and making decisions and understand that I was responsible for my actions did actual good things start happening in my life, and positivity and taking ownership over stuff is a big thing,
Okay.
and understand that you're responsible for your own destiny to a very large extent.
Again, I just my daughter just pulled up, and so I know she's coming over to probably get a quick workout in and that. So we've gone for quite some time.
An hour and 20 minutes here. I'm happy to wrap it up if you want to, and we can go another time. Or
hold on one second. Let me at least open up the door here.
What a guy.
Dominique? Oh. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get it. I think she went over to the other door here trying to look for me. So I'll just,
Don't apologize. Families first at all times. So what I was saying there is I'm more than happy to wrap it up now. Sure, we can do it again in a couple of weeks or whatever suits. And
sure.
I'm certainly going to pass your name around local BJJ classes and MMA gyms, etc., because people need the knowledge of the beast. Never mind the grappling side of things. Just your approach to life is important to get out there.
All of those sectors, and I would throw even professional wrestling in there, because I still teach the wrestling aspect of professional wrestling. I'm not going to show you, moonsaults or that nature, because that ain't me, But I will show you how to put on a technical. I will show you how to put on a technical wrestling match from days gone by. You can flower it in there with all your other little spectacular things that you want to do, but I refer to those as leaps of faith.
And the best place to follow Dan Severn currently is Facebook, isn't that right? Dan the Beast Severn?
Yep. If you follow me
Facebook
on Dan Severn,
Instagram.
you've got to be careful, though, because there's been a couple of different impersonator. So you get well, look for the authentic Dan Severn. I mean, I have a Dan Severn Facebook page, and I have Dan the Beast Severn Facebook page. So I have both.
I'll put all the links in the description. Okay. But Dan, absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I hope we can do it again in the future.
Well, Mark, I've had a lot of fun, and I hope to. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, did you ever ask for royalties off Tom Selleck for looking like you?
No. It's, if anything, he should be looking at me because he was before me. But that's a lot of young people are not going to know who Tom Selleck is. Whereas again, that's where
sure, it's a laugh, but it's been fantastic. And Dan, absolute pleasure. And this has been the Belfast Bapcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I shall see you later, Dan.
All right. Take care, man.
Yeah. Not here to make you happy, not here to make you sad. Your feelings are irrelevant when debates are to be had. The Belfast Bapcast, loud and clear, covering the topics of the sphere, Working overtime to bring you many stories. Waking up today, the same labor and Tories. A stage, it isn't our part to play. Is bringing you knowledge in this way. No filter, no fuss, just tell unfiltered fact. Much like the words on those Christian tracks.